Hello all and welcome to Mishra's One-Stop Shop, where today we're talking about a new commander from Commander Masters and giving you a budget deck tech. The commander we're building around is Zhulodok Void Gorger, which is one of the commanders from the precons of this set. Zhulodok reads, colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade, Cascade. And as a refresher, Cascade says when you cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you'll do that again. This commander can become pretty fun with the right cards in it, and even at a budget, it still has the ability to do some pretty wacky things. First, let's start with cards everyone knows you need, mana rocks. Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, and Pristine Talisman each tap for 1 colorless mana, with Pristine Talisman gaining you life each time. Soul Ring, Golem's Eye, and Sisay's Ring are all mana rocks that tap for 2 colorless. Basalt Monolith and Dreamstone Hedron tap for 3 colorless mana, with Dreamstone Hedron letting you sacrifice it in the late game to draw some cards. Some creatures that tap for mana and help you get up to those larger spells are Palladium Mirror and Kozilek's Channeler, tapping for 2 colorless each, as well as Warden of Geometries and Mannequin, which each tap for 1 colorless. Mana reduction is also important to include in this deck, making it easier to cast those big spells. You'll want to include cards like Foundry Inspector and Joyrus Familiar to reduce the cost of your big artifact spells. Cloud Key lets you reduce the cost of a card type, which normally will be creatures, and Ugin the Ineffable will reduce the cost of all your colorless spells by 2. Now let's get to the creatures. These are going to be the big spells you want to throw on the board to cascade into hopefully 2 more big spells. First up, we have Desolation Twin, Ulamog's Crusher, and Breaker of Armies. Desolation Twin is a 10/10 for 10 mana that basically makes a copy of itself, putting another 10/10 onto the battlefield. Ulamog's Crusher is an 8/8 for 8 mana with Annihilator 2, and it must attack each combat if able. Annihilator is an ability that says whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices permanents. So in this case, each time you attack, your opponents would sacrifice 2 permanents. Breaker of Armies is a 10/8 for 8 mana with all creatures able to block it do so. This is great for getting all your other large creatures through to finish off your opponents. Meteor Golem is great for this deck because not only do you get the 2 cascade triggers, but you'll also get to destroy something an opponent controls in the process, and Maelstrom Colossus gets you an additional cascade trigger. Phyrexian Triniform will get you more creatures once it dies, or make more copies of itself in the late game. Mirror Battlesphere helps you flood the board even more. Scour from Existence is a great removal piece that still allows you to get those cascade triggers, and Skittering Invasion makes you 5 Eldrazi spawn that can help you ramp up to those bigger spells. Wondrous Crucible gives all your permanents Ward 2, making it harder to get rid of them, and brings back something an opponent may have destroyed earlier on in the game. Now let's get into some cards you'll hopefully be cascading into. For creatures, Conduit of Ruin helps you reduce the first creature you cast each turn, while Oblivion Sower helps you ramp a little by taking opponents' lands. Endbringer has some great utility on it, allowing you to draw cards or ping your opponent's stuff, and Eldrazi Mimic can really pump itself up when other creatures enter the battlefield. Blightherder gets you more Eldrazi spawn in exchange for putting cards your opponents own in exile back into their graveyards, and Steel Hellkite can be there in the late game for you to swing out for that final blow against your opponents. Just because you're playing a colorless deck doesn't mean all your lands have to be wastes or only tap for generic mana. Including some utility lands really helps this deck out. Lands like Urza lands really help you ramp if you've got all 3 of them out, and War Room is just a good way to draw some cards since you won't have to pay that cost of paying life equal to your colors of your commander. Eldrazi Temple is a staple, just reducing the cost of your Eldrazi spells, which you will have a lot of, and Shrine of the Forsaken Gods does the same thing, but for all your colorless spells as long as you have 7 or more lands. Field of Ruin, Demolition Field, and Ghost Quarter are good lands for removal for any pesky lands your opponents may control. Blasted Landscape can be cycled from your hand to draw a card, and Zhalfirin Void can give you a little advantage by scrying just to see if you need what's on top of your deck. There are plenty of other inclusions for this deck, but since we don't know the entire deck list just yet, I just wanted to wait on doing a full deck list to see what the pre-con has included for us. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. You can also support us in other ways through our Patreon channel, which has tons of benefits, including Patreon exclusive giveaways and early access to videos, as well as polls and upcoming deck techs. The link for that is in the video's description below, and stay tuned for more deck techs. See ya.